Meet Alex. In 2020, Alex did everything the experts told him to do. He worked 40 hours a week. He skipped the expensive lattes. He diligently tucked away $50,000 into a high-yield savings account for a house deposit. Alex was winning. Until he wasn't. While Alex was sleeping, the government turned on the money hose. They printed trillions. And here is the sting. That money didn't fall from the sky onto Alex's lawn. It didn't make his $50,000 more valuable. Well, actually, it did the exact opposite. The data confirms a reality that most people are too scared to admit. When the government prints money to save the economy, they aren't saving your money, they are diluting it. The new dollars aren't distributed, they are injected. By the time that new money reaches your wallet, its purchasing power has already been stolen by the people who got to spend it first. Observe the house Alex wanted to buy. It didn't get better, it didn't get bigger, but the price doubled in 24 months. Why? Because the people standing next to the money hose used that fresh cash to outbid Alex before he even knew the hose was turned on. Alex didn't lose his money. He lost his time. 5 years of his life evaporated. In the next 23 minutes, we are going to look at the battle map of the modern economy. You are going to realize why your hard work is being outpaced by a printing press, and, more importantly, how to stop being the one standing at the end of the line.
To understand why Alex is failing, we have to realize that the common sense your parents taught you has become a massive liability. In the old world, money was a reward for productivity. If you baked 10 loaves of bread, you got $10. That dollar represented work that had already happened. It was a store of value. You could put it in a vault, come back 10 years later, and it would still buy you 10 loaves of bread. But look at our 2026 reality. History proves that we have moved from an economy of productivity to an economy of proximity. Today, money is no longer a store of value. It is a melting ice cube. The pattern is clear. The global financial system is now built on the assumption that money must lose value every single year. Well, here's the thing. If everyone's money lost value at the exact same time and at the exact same rate, it wouldn't actually be a problem. If the price of bread doubled, but your salary also doubled instantly, and your savings doubled too, nothing would change. It would just be a change in the labels. But that is not how it works. Not even close. Think about the last time you saw a headline about stimulus or quantitative easing. The news makes it sound like a giant helicopter is flying over the country, dropping cash on everyone equally. Actually, that's a lie. The data confirms that money enters the system at specific points. It's like an ink drop in a glass of water. It starts at the top, highly concentrated and dark. As it spreads out to the bottom of the glass, it gets lighter and lighter until it's barely visible. By the time the ink reaches the bottom, where you and Alex are standing, it's so diluted it doesn't even look like ink anymore. It just looks like higher prices at the grocery store. Realize this. Your old world strategy of saving currency is like trying to catch a waterfall with a thimble. You are working for a number that is being manipulated by people you will never meet. If you keep playing the game by the old rules, you aren't just losing, you're being farmed.
Let's talk about the specific enemy. We'll call it the proximity trap. The enemy isn't just the Fed or the banks as abstract concepts. The enemy is the unfair advantage of being close to the source of new capital. Observe how a modern bank works. when the central bank decides to inject $1 trillion into the system, they don't mail a check to your house. They buy assets from large commercial banks. This means the big banks get the money first. They are the ones standing directly under the nozzle of the hose. Now, what do they do with that money? Do they give it to you? No, they use it. They lend it to hedge funds, to institutional investors, and to the ultra-wealthy at incredibly low interest rates. These insiders take that fresh, powerful money and they buy things. They buy real estate. They buy stocks. They buy gold. They buy Bitcoin. And here is the trick. Because they are buying before the rest of the world knows the money exists, they get to buy at old world prices. By the time you get your cost of living raise, or by the time your small business finally sees a bit more cash flow, the insiders have already bid up the price of everything you need to survive. Can you feel the physical stress of this? You are running as fast as you can on a treadmill, but the floor is moving backward faster than your legs can keep up. You aren't imagining it. You aren't bad with money. You are simply caught in a trap where the people at the top get the value of the money and you get the inflation of the money. It's an invisible tax. It requires no vote, no legislation, and no permission. It is the perfect theft because most people don't even know who is stealing from them. They just blame the guy at the gas station for the prices. To truly understand the financial physics of your life, we need to look at the watering hole hierarchy. Imagine a dry savanna. The sky is gray, but it never rains. This is the natural state of the economy. Water, or capital, is scarce. Every animal has to work hard to find a drink. Suddenly, a giant rain cloud appears directly over one specific spot, the central bank's pond. It doesn't rain on the whole savanna. It only pours into this one pond. Now, look at the animals. The lions, the ultra-wealthy, the big banks, the government contractors. They live right at the edge of that pond. As soon as the water hits, they drink their fill. The water is cool, it's clear, and it's deep. They get the maximum hydration with the minimum effort. But as they drink, they also stir up the mud. They bathe in it. They pollute it. By the time the water overflows and trickles down the little streams to the rest of the savanna, it's no longer fresh water. It's inflation sludge. The zebras, the middle class, are standing a mile away. They see the trickle-down coming. They're excited. Look, they say, the water is coming. But when it arrives, it's thick with dirt. It's barely drinkable. They have to drink twice as much just to stay alive, but the effort of finding it and filtering it wears them out. And finally, at the very edge of the savanna, you have the ants, the people living paycheck to paycheck on fixed incomes or minimum wage. By the time the water reaches them, it's just damp mud. Here is the aha moment. The lions aren't richer because they are smarter or harder working. In this specific mechanism, they are richer simply because of proximity. In physics, gravity dictates that the closer you are to a massive object, the stronger the pull. In economics, Cantillon Gravity dictates that the closer you are to the money hose, the more wealth you can attract without producing a single thing. This is the Cantillon Effect, named after Richard Cantillon, a man who 300 years ago realized that money is not neutral. If I give you $1 million today, and I give your neighbor $1 million a year from now, you are significantly richer than him. Not because you have more money, but because you had the use of that money before the prices of the world adjusted to the fact that there are now $2 million more in circulation. Well, in 2026, the lions are getting their $1 million every single second. And you're still waiting for the stream to reach your part of the savannah. Stop thinking of inflation as a natural disaster. It's not a storm. It's a redirection of the water from your bucket to theirs. Let's look at a high-stakes example of this in action. Let's look at how the Lions used the 2020 to 2024 era to cement their power while Alex was busy staying safe. In March 2020, the world stopped. Everything was crashing. But then the Federal Reserve turned on the hose to the tune of $5 million a minute. Now, meet Megacorp. Megacorp was in trouble. They had too much debt. In a normal world, they would have gone bankrupt, but they are a lion. They live at the edge of the pond. The government announced they would buy corporate bonds. Suddenly, Megacorp could borrow money at 2% interest. Megacorp didn't use that money to build better products. They used it to buy back their own stock and to buy up thousands of single-family homes. Why? Because they knew that with all this new money in the system, hard assets like houses were going to skyrocket. They bought the houses for $200,000 each, using fresh money. Now, look at Alex. Alex was also at home. He got a stimulus check for $1,200. He thought, hey, this is great, free money. By the time Alex felt confident enough to go out and buy a house with his savings, Megacorp had already bought them all. And if Alex wanted one, he had to buy it from Megacorp for $400,000. Megacorp didn't work for that $200,000 profit. They didn't innovate. They simply stood closer to the hose. They got the water while it was clear, and they sold the mud to Alex at a premium. This isn't just a story about real estate. This is the story of the last 20 years of the stock market. When the money hose is on, the stock market goes up. Not because the companies are more profitable, but because there is more ink in the water. If you own assets, stocks, real estate, gold, you are riding the golden elevator to the top of the skyscraper. You are being pushed up by the sheer volume of new money. But if you work for a salary, if you are Alex, you are running up the down escalator. Even if you get a 5% raise, if the money hose expanded the currency supply by 10%, you didn't get a raise. You got a 5% pay cut. The data confirms it. The gap between the asset class and the labor class isn't a failure of the system. It is the intended output of the Cantillon Effect.
Now, here is where I tell you the ugly side. The part that most finance gurus are too afraid to say because it isn't comfortable. The hard truth is this: you cannot outwork the printing press. You can work 80 hours a week. You can have 3 side hustles. You can be the most productive employee in your company's history. But as long as you are trading your limited time for a currency that can be created in unlimited amounts, you will always be a zebra drinking mud. Actually, it's worse than that. 99% of the people watching this video will understand the Cantillon Effect. They will feel the anger, and then they will go right back to their old world habits. They will keep their money in a savings account that pays 4%, while the real inflation of the money supply is 7%. They will wait for the perfect time to buy an asset, while the lions continue to swallow the world. The system is designed to make it easy to be a zebra and nearly impossible to become a lion. To move closer to the hose, you have to take risks that feel unnatural to Alex. You have to realize that saving is actually gambling.
You are gambling that the people in charge of the money hose will suddenly stop printing. Does that look like the pattern of history to you? History proves that once a civilization starts using the money hose to solve its problems, it never stops. It just gets a bigger hose. Admit it, you've been waiting for things to go back to normal. You've been waiting for houses to be affordable again and for the dollar to regain its strength. That is not a strategy. That's a fantasy. The normal you are looking for is dead. It was buried under a mountain of freshly printed ink. If you feel overwhelmed right now, good. That means you're finally paying attention. But here is the shift. Now that you see the system, it can no longer control you in the same way. The proximity trap only works as long as the zebras don't understand where the water is coming from. Once you see the hose, you can stop chasing the mud and start moving toward the source. De-shame yourself. It is not your fault that the common sense you were taught was a trap. You were trained to be a productive worker in a system that rewards proximity over productivity. But you are no longer in the dark. The strategic enlightenment begins when you stop asking, "How do I save more money?" and start asking, "How do I move closer to the hose?" You don't need to be a billionaire to use Cantillon logic. You just need to change your financial physics. You are moving from a victim of the system to a student of the system. And once the student is ready, the unbeatable enemy starts to look like an opportunity. Let's talk about how you actually win. To win in a Cantillon economy, you need 3 weapons. Weapon 1, the asset mindset. Stop thinking in dollars and start thinking in percentages of the supply. If you own a piece of a company, a piece of real estate, or a fraction of a Bitcoin, you own a fixed percentage of something. When the money hose turns on, the price of your asset goes up, but your share of the world stays the same. You are now riding the elevator with the lions. Weapon 2, debt as a tool. This is counterintuitive, but the lions love debt. Why? Because they borrow clear water today, and they pay it back with mud tomorrow. If you have a fixed-rate mortgage on a house, inflation is actually your friend. It's shrinking the real value of your debt, while the nominal value of your house rises. You are using the hose to wash away your own bills. Weapon 3, proximity networking. In 2026, who you know is literally how much you make. Move your proximity toward people who understand these cycles. If your entire circle is talking about saving for a rainy day, you are surrounded by zebras. You need to find the people who are positioned for the rain cloud. Observe the world through this lens for 1 week. Every time you see a price increase, don't get angry. Ask, who got this money first? Every time you see a government spending bill, ask, which assets will this inflate? Here is your checkmate question. If the only way to get ahead is to stand closer to the money hose, are you working for a salary? Or are you just waiting for the leftovers? Think about that. Really think about it. And then leave a comment below telling me the exact moment you realized the saving game was rigged. The pattern is clear. The world doesn't reward the hardest workers. It rewards those who understand where the value is flowing. The golden rule of the 21st century is simple. In an era of infinite money, the only thing that matters is owning finite things. This isn't just about your bank account. This is about your legacy. Do you want to leave your children a pile of ink that loses its color every year? Or do you want to leave them a seat at the watering hole? The choice is yours, but the clock is ticking. Because the hose, it never stays off for long. But even as you master the Cantillon Effect, a new, more invisible wall is waiting for you in the shadows. There is a hidden layer to this system that goes beyond just money printing, a force that can destroy even those who follow all the rules we talked about today. Next time, we pull back the curtain on the one silent force that decides who is allowed to keep what they've earned. Observe the patterns, realize the truth, and I'll see you in the next layer.